Hey everyone, and welcome. You ever have one of those fleeting ideas and wonder, could this actually become something big? Well, today, we're diving into a framework that actually maps out that exact journey, how you go from a tiny spark to a full-blown, world-changing enterprise. So let's get into it. I mean, this is the question, right? It's what drives every creator, every entrepreneur, every single one of us with a project. We all have that aha moment, but what happens next? What's the real path from what if to look what we did? How do you take care of that little idea so it doesn't just fizzle out, but actually thrives? You know, the best way to picture it is like a seed. It starts super small, almost insignificant, but you give it the right environment, the right care, and it grows into this complex, self-sustaining thing. We call that an enterprise. And listen, that word doesn't just mean a business. An enterprise can be any meaningful project that grows, a new scientific theory, a community movement, or, yeah, a new company. So here's our game plan. We're going to break it all down into 4 simple parts. First up, what even is a creative enterprise? Then we'll walk through the 5 key stages of its growth. After that, we'll check out the 3 different shapes an enterprise can take in the real world. And finally, we'll bring it all home and see how this applies to your work. All right, let's start at the beginning. What in the world are we talking about when we say creative enterprise? Because, it's way more than just a single project. The writer Howard Gruber absolutely nailed it with this quote. He basically said, an enterprise isn't some task you just check off a list. It's a living, breathing system. When you hit a milestone, you're not done. You've just unlocked the next level. It creates new questions, new challenges, new projects. It just keeps going. And that is the key. Okay, so if an enterprise is this living thing, how does it actually grow? Well, this framework is like a roadmap for that journey, and it's broken down into 5 clear stages. So the whole journey unfolds like this. It all kicks off with a creative theme. That's your big idea. Then it gets real with a scalable focus. From there, you build a solid foundation in center development. Next, you bring people in with the value circle. And finally, you reach the developmental platform, where your idea is so strong, it actually helps other new ideas grow. Let's zoom in on those first couple of stages. Everything, and I mean everything, starts right here with the creative theme. This is your why. It's that core idea, that one word or phrase that guides every decision you make. It could be something like radical sustainability, or human connection, or effortless technology. Getting this right is so important because it's your North Star. It keeps you on track when things inevitably get complicated. Okay, so you've got your theme. Now what? You need to make it tangible. That's the scalable focus. This is where your big idea becomes a real thing, a product, a book, a workshop, whatever it is. And the key word here is scalable. It has to be something that can grow and change and get better over time without drifting away from your original theme. This is how your idea stops being just a thought and starts making moves in the real world. And get this, here's a fantastic real-world example of how this works. The idea of scalable focus itself started as just a simple thematic card, literally just a concept jotted down. Then it grew into a strategic theme used for actual knowledge work. And from there, it was developed into a whole footbook with 20 stories, making the idea useful for tons of other people. See that? It scaled from a tiny thought into a practical tool. So cool. So, we've seen the journey an idea takes, the whole 5-stage process. But what does it actually become at the end of the day? Well, it turns out enterprises come in a few different flavors, and each one has a totally different goal. This framework lays out 3 main forms. This little table lays it out so clearly. You've got your knowledge enterprise. Its whole goal is what you call epistemic impact. Fancy words, but it just means it wants to change the way people think. Then you have a business enterprise, which is all about making a splosh in the market. And finally, a cultural enterprise, which is focused on social impact, changing a community or even society. Let's make this real. For a knowledge enterprise, look at the sociologist Ping-Kong Louis. He spent over 15 years building his enterprise. His goal wasn't about getting rich. It was to completely shift the way his field, sociology, thought about things. He wrote books, taught classes, even started a society, all to develop and spread his ideas and make a real intellectual dent in the world. Now for a business enterprise, think about a Web3 platform. Its goal is pure market impact, letting regular people, not just coders, build decentralized apps. But here's the trick. Its success completely depends on making its core ideas understandable. They have to bridge the gap between really complex concepts like DID or crypto wallets and what a brand new user can actually wrap their head around. The whole enterprise is built on making those ideas connect with the market. And finally, a cultural enterprise can come from a really personal place. Take the 9/11 Curator project. It all started from a single, powerful theme: curation for memorial. By building a digital space where people could come together to share and curate memories, it turned a personal project into this deeply meaningful cultural act of remembrance. Just beautiful. So, we've walked through the stages of growth, and we've seen the different forms an enterprise can take. Now it's time to bring it all home. How does any of this connect to you and that idea you're working on? Well, the main takeaway is actually pretty simple, but it's incredibly powerful. This right here is the pattern. It's the universal journey we've been talking about. Every great project has the potential to move through these stages. It starts as a personal theme, it becomes a real-world focus, you build a stable center for it, you connect with others in a value circle, and if you're lucky, it becomes a platform that helps other people launch their ideas. So I want you to think about your own work through this lens. That project you can't stop thinking about. That passion you're pouring hours into. It's an enterprise in the making. So the question I'll leave you with is this: what stage is it in right now, and what's the very next step on its journey? Thanks so much for tuning in.